Mine was when a girlfriend of mine asked me for a picture of when I was in the army. I showed her a picture of me holding a machine gun and standing on a tank. And then she told me, "You're too cute to have a gun. So what are your silly reasons?" Story 1. I always feel emasculated when there's a guy with a really deep voice around. Taller than me? Couldn't care less. More muscular? Whatever. More handsome? Good for you. But something about a deep voice just makes me feel insecure about myself. Story 2. I'm short, and my girlfriend is about 2 to 3 inches taller. She bends down an exaggerated amount when we hug. One time, for safety reasons, my boss had to help me get up and down from a catwalk without a ladder. Getting up was okay, but getting down was like a grown man, 6 feet tall and over 200 pounds, opening his arms to catch you like a small child jumping from a bed. Edit. For those wondering, I'm 5 feet 3 inches, at least I was in high school, and I haven't measured myself in the past 5 or so years. My girlfriend is 5 feet 5 inches according to her ID. You cannot tell the difference without asking to judge. People only notice when they bring up my height because 5 feet 3 inches is pretty short. Story 3. I'm 5 feet 5 inches tall. On a night out, some random drunk lad picked me up by putting his hands under my arms, lifted me, and carried me down the street, depositing me in front of a stopped car. Didn't feel very manly then. Story 4. My cousin, older than me by 2 months, said she didn't want me to cut the fruits because I might hurt myself and insisted that she do it. We were both 20 at the time. Story 5. My boss, a man in his 40s weighing around 220 pounds, once snuck up behind me, a 19-year-old weighing 135 pounds, while I was at work with the hiccups and scared me half to death by grabbing and lifting me by the shoulders while screaming. The hiccups went away, but I still don't think my inner man's dignity has recovered to this day from the way I screamed. And that was years ago. Story 6. Last year, a friend's girlfriend asked if I was gay because I was a 26-year-old virgin. I'm not, but I'm now a 27-year-old virgin. I should not have posted this. I am getting too many direct messages and comments. Quick bullet points for all the new people commenting and reading. Yes, many people have said I look average, good, or okay. It is just hard for me to believe it. I still think I am fat and ugly. Yes, I know that I am negative, have no self-confidence or self-esteem, and my personality is holding me back. I am trying to be a better person, but it is hard and I am struggling. No, I have not seen a therapist. I am considering it. My work offers counseling services. I am very thankful that there are so many kind people on Reddit and in the world who would take the time to leave so many nice comments on some random person's post or send a nice direct message offering help to a complete stranger. I would also like to say that she is a very nice person. It could have just been a spur-of-the-moment question based on the conversation. Story 7. You know how perennials are supposed to grow every year? But last year my perennials didn't grow, and I was really upset about my perennials. Story 8. I'm more on terms with both sides now, but before it was in high school and this girl I was dating used to do cosplay with her older sister. Needless to say, they included me. I thought it was awesome until she asked me to go Naya Naya. According to her, I was an adorable guy, but I resisted. That was until I finally gave in and Naya Naya'd. Her older sister recorded it too, double whammy. Edit. You are all awesome. Turn some bad days of this week into really good ones. Thank you, everyone. Story 9. 20 years passed before I was told by a woman other than my mother that I was handsome. If you think a guy is handsome, tell him. Chances are he hasn't heard it in a long time. Obviously, some women aren't very often told that they're beautiful, and some men are told that they're handsome all the time, but it seems to me there's still a large discrepancy there. Story 10. When a girlfriend of mine makes fun of my chances of ever finding a girlfriend because I'm not confident at all talking to new people, especially girls, it happens way too many times that I start talking faster than I can think, trip over my own words, and completely mess up the first impression by awkwardly trying to correct myself and then making even more mistakes. Then I'm mostly too embarrassed to say anything after that, so I just keep quiet unless someone talks to me. Now, I know she doesn't mean any of it because I've known her for 6 or 7 years or so, but it still hurts a little bit considering she's one of my best and only friends. Story 11. Someone at work thought I was gay because I've never dated a girl or have a girlfriend. I've never dated anyone because I am Muslim, but with my skin color, most people think I am Mexican. Story 12. I play beer league hockey and had a particularly rough game against a very physical team. I took 2 roughing penalties and drew an interference call. I went back and forth with pretty much everyone on the other team. I grinded out along the boards all game, playing a pure fourth line style all game basically, which is not my usual style. But against this team, it's what we had to do. After the game, the wife of one of the guys on the other team, who is also the bartender for the bar at the rink, said something like, "Didn't expect that play to come from a suit and tie guy." At the time, I was the digital sales manager for a car dealership. For whatever reason, that suit and tie guy really rubbed me the wrong way. I was in a combat military occupational specialty in the Army, played hockey through high school and some intramural college, had done construction before I did car sales, and had given myself surgical staples in the field. I never viewed myself as a suit and tie type. When I went into work that day and heard coworkers talking about having to hire someone to install a new light fixture for them or needing help backing in a trailer with our new golf cart, it really, made me question the manliness of my job. I know it's dumb, extremely dumb, but I didn't realize until thinking about it for a while how dumb it was. Story 13. My ex-girlfriend made a joke about small penises around me and friends. She wasn't talking about me, but my friends immediately assumed she was, so they started laughing at me. Seriously, it was a year ago, and if I go back, I can feel how uncomfortable I was in that situation. Story 14. I went on a date to the fair probably 11 years ago when I was 17, and I didn't have a lot of money. I walked by this man, and he saw her empty-handed and straight up said, "You haven't won her a bear or anything? Don't be so stingy." I was 17, this man was like 75, and he was scowling and intimidating. I shuffled a step or two away from him, trying to drag her with me. She stopped, turned to him and said, "Hey, didn't your mother ever tell you not to use that kind of language around a woman?" The man bowed his head, scooted back into his booth, and stayed quiet. I felt like such a coward, and it was really not a big deal. Story 15. I have had quite a few girls call me cute. Not handsome, but cute. Some of them were interested in me and not just using it as a friend zone thing. It is weird being called cute when I am a big 192 centimeter, 100 kilogram dude with a beard. Story 16. Me, my ex-girlfriend, and her female roommate drank some wine, and the roommate talked about her boyfriend and how skinny he is. I said I used to be skinny too a few years ago, and they just started laughing. My body mass index is like 22, and I was more ripped than bulky, but this still stuck with me. Story 17. Someone was taller than me. I'm 17 and 6 feet, and I'm relatively tall for someone my age, so I've become very prideful of my height. Also a New Yorker. Story 18. I used to hit the dance floor with abandon and let it all hang out. I thought I was pretty good, though maybe a bit overly expressive. Then, a few years back, I went to a club in Chicago, and I'm strutting and grinding, but after one song, my wife goes to sit at the bar. I waited a couple of songs, then went over to see what was up. She says, "You dance like a woman. I don't want to compete. Are you secretly gay?" Then, as if to drive the point home, I got hit on by 2 different people within a 10-minute span right there in front of her. It was pretty humiliating. So nowadays, if I can be forced onto the dance floor, I dance like a 90-year-old, shuffling in one spot. Story 19. A high school girl told me I was too short to date her. We eventually dated for 2 years. This one is weird. My wife tells me I have a cute penis. It bothers me, but then she calls it pretty, and it makes me insecure, to be honest. Story 20. When people say I am fragile, my own mom said this to me when I was young. I get it, I'm short, but that doesn't mean I am weak. My mom is actually great. She didn't mean that. She said it to make me quit fighting my brother. But other people have said it too. Story 21. I was a teenager and had just gotten a job after nearly a year of constant searching. I stated that I felt like a valuable team member there, and my then girlfriend's dad laughed under his breath. Story 22. I often feel like I'm being made a person who is difficult at work. I'm usually able to step back and see that not everyone is going to get the promotion. I try to control what I can and be ready when I get an opportunity or be more motivated to tinker with the resume. Story 23. My wife pointed out in front of our best friends that she didn't think I could handle a Harley Davidson. Something about me not being able to hold it up and keep it balanced. I'm 5 foot 11 inches, 240 pounds, and she's watched me at the gym squat over 500 pounds and deadlift over 500 pounds. Somehow her 65-year-old dad with a hip replacement has more strength than I do. Story 24. My girlfriend at the time had her gay best friend come along for hanging out and going to a bunch of new stores we had never been to. At some point, she said, "You would make a perfect boyfriend," to her friend. Right in front of me. Story 25. My ex-girlfriend was talking to her friend, and the topic of fighting came up. She said that I had no chance of winning a fight. I mean, I probably won't get into one ever, but it still hurt. Story 26. I don't have a problem with my masculinity anymore, but I used to be quite worried about it as a teenager. I grew up in a very rural part of Germany where being gay was considered an insult, and I never quite fit in with the local boys. It didn't help that I bought pink Nike soccer shoes because I thought they looked great and had different interests in general. It also had something to do with trying to rebel against the narrow-minded surroundings there. My self-image improved greatly when I met my girlfriend and noticed that she liked every part of me and that I didn't have to act extra manly. Moving out and attending university in a different country with a completely different set of people also helped immensely. I think I just realized that I don't really care if someone thinks that I'm not manly enough because I follow my morals and stand up for myself and others. Story 27. One of the first times I did it with my girlfriend, we were both inexperienced and scared. At that time, I used to steal condoms from my dad. Then I started buying my own, but it turns out that if you use smaller condoms, your erection isn't full. After a bit of time, sweat, and frustration, we gave up, and she suggested that I might have some erectile dysfunction. I felt awful, and I also snapped. Once I got the proper condoms, everything went back to normal. Story 28. I am a vocalist in a fairly aggressive death metal band, adopting a very dominant manner while on stage. An ex used to say, "You were so cute when you were growling." Not exactly the reaction I was aiming for. Story 29. My cat likes to sniff the heads of my wife and sister-in-law after they get their hair colored. They joked that he was a gay hairdresser in a past life. For some reason, I felt offended on his behalf. Story 30. I don't mind being wrong. I kind of love being wrong because it means I'm learning something new. But when my wife looked up and informed me that I was wrong about it being appropriate to drive in the far-right lane on a 3-lane highway, I was overtaken with a smoldering toxic anger at her for not just letting me be wrong. It was terrifying and hilarious. Story 31. In middle school, a girl complimented my long eyelashes and naturally shadowed eyes. Middle school me heard, "You look like a girl." In hindsight, she was probably trying to flirt and got confused when I didn't take it well. Story 32. When I was 21, I dated a 35-year-old coworker. She told me and all the coworkers that she would never have dated someone my age seriously. But she made an exception for me because the sex was so good. After a few weeks, I realized how messed up and crazy she was and broke up with her. She ran around and told all of our coworkers that I had a small penis while almost simultaneously begging me for weeks to get back together with her. Her telling people I have a small penis messed young and naive me all the way up. I got teased a lot by coworkers. Story 33. Went to Hooters with some friends. The girl taking the orders asked me and only me for my ID. As she's handing it back, she tells me, "Sorry, you have a baby face, just needed to confirm." That hit me pretty hard. I was 27 at the time. Story 34. Always saying Mr. Last Name, and not only the last name, during work calls, and not rarely do people on the phone reply to me with, "Yeah, hello Mrs. Last Name." My voice is high, and it messes with my self-esteem. Story 35. I had just started college a month early because of summer marching band. Now, if you've ever been in marching band, you know it takes all of your time and energy every single day out in the sun. I was exhausted and tired, and I knew I was in the wrong field of study. At the same time, I started an on-campus job as an audio/visual technician. The week before school officially begins, they have many events for freshmen to get them adjusted and comfortable with the new lifestyle. So with this, it gave me plenty of work to do as a new audio/visual technician. One of those days, we had to set up a projector and some audio equipment outside so a movie could be projected on the large outside wall of the library. As I finished rolling road cases up the tilted sidewalk, one of them rolled off the edge of the concrete and fell onto the back of my right calf. Felt like someone took a sharp baseball bat and whacked me as hard as they could. At first, I was all right, probably in shock, so I limp-hopped over to the side and sat down on the grass. The skin on the back of my leg was very scraped, and I could already see a dark bruise forming. I noticed my boss a couple of yards away working on another event, so I limped over towards him. I don't know why, but I started to cry. I hate crying. I hadn't cried in forever, but I guess I would right then. As I approached him and he asked me what was wrong, I was so choked up I couldn't get the words out. I was so stressed from marching band and exhausted that I guess I let it get to me, and I had just gotten this job and I really didn't want to lose it. He let me go back to my dorm that afternoon and brought me a t-shirt from that event that night. Looking back on it now, I still get really embarrassed about it, but 2 years later, we joke about it from time to time and teach newer technicians how to avoid incidents like that from happening. I'm very proud of who I work with, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. In summary, I cried in front of my boss because I got hurt,